people think, oh, I don't have all that time on my hands. So if something don't work out this one time, let me just suck it up and deal with it. Rather than trying again, or rather than giving themselves an opportunity to do something new in a new way, they stay with it, so they stay stuck. But understand, to in order to for you to move from one stage to the next, you will be tested and tried. Sometimes not just once, not just twice. It may happen. And one of the things that I learned is that the universe really don't care about you. All it's concerned about is that you get it. And it will do whatever it takes and whatever is needed, whatever is necessary for you to do what you need to do. So the truth of the matter is the wisdom we will gain and enjoy in our latter years would never be a part of us without investing time in some of the relationships that didn't work out, some of the places that we have traveled to, some of the experiences that we have allowed ourselves to have. If we did not do that now, fast forward 10 years from now, we would not have the experience that we have in the future. Does that make sense? So if you're grinding about whatever your situation is now, right? And you didn't have that experience, you may not have the wisdom to pass on a good advice to somebody later down the line. Because sometimes I personally believe that our experience is not just for ourselves. Um, if I figure it out, I'll be happy to pass it on to you. You might not take the advice, but at least you may go into it knowing that, hey, if she could do it, I could do it too. Okay. Number two, if you're not, as I said earlier, you're not starting from scratch. When you're having an experience, this is the thing that you do. When you find yourself at a roadblock, don't just go through the whole why me situation. You gotta sit with yourself, ask yourself some hardcore questions, and you need to be very, very honest with yourself, because if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you even expect other people to be honest with you? So you have to ask yourself hard questions. What are you prepared to do differently? Are you willing to do what it takes to change your mindset against whatever? Because a lot of times our attitudes is the one thing that blocks us from entering life on a certain level. Because it's like, if, let me see how I could put this. If it is that you have no idea what fine dining is all about, right? And that's the lifestyle that you want, you have to learn how to teach yourself that. Which fork goes where, which hand is supposed to be here, which fork is the dessert fork, which fork is the salad fork, and all these little things. I'm just using that as a metaphor, but I think you probably get the bigger picture. And one of the things that I know a lot of people block themselves from connecting with their truth because they're not willing to dig in. They prefer to say, I don't know, but you always know. And I learned this particular thing from observing a lot of people. You ask them questions, and the first thing is they, but I don't know, and I don't know, and I don't know. But sit with yourself until you know. Ask yourself the questions. Ask yourself why, what, where. And the Holy Spirit always gives us the guidance that we need. So that is number two. You're not starting from scratch, you're going to be starting from experience. So don't be discouraged. And number three is adapt this mindset. I adapt this mindset as an affirmation. I mentioned it earlier about giving myself permission to have as many second chances as I need, because it is very important. I know there's a saying that says, "Oh, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression." You may not get a second chance to make a first impression, but guess what? I am the only person who can decide that. It wouldn't be the first, it would be the second. Sometimes maybe you feel at the first, but guess what? When it comes around to number two or number three or number four, how much ever, you are the only one who could decide how what I do or how I feel is going to affect the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, nobody has permission outside of yourself to tell you what you can and cannot do. What do you think about that? So if one thing is not working, be open and be willing to try something new. This area, this fourth one is one of my favorite areas when it comes to relationships because oh my gosh, I have been observing people for so long. And it breaks my heart because I'm a diehard romantic. And it breaks my heart every time to see that after one bad situation or maybe a divorce, people just make this affirmation to themselves and they make this promise I would never get involved with somebody else again. So this is what I said about this. Get excited when your relationship that sucked anyway fails. Don't just grab onto it and keep working with it because you think you have no choice. I have a friend who told me one time, better the devil you know than the one you don't. And I think I am not in a position to judge anybody, but only you know what your deal breakers are in relationships. And if you don't know what your deal breakers are, then you will end up in a situation where you will just accept whatever because you so desperately need to be in a relationship or you need to be with somebody. So the person could do you anything, treat you anyhow, and you will still be there. So um, I say when a relationship ends, don't just give up on the whole idea of love because love is the most powerful force in the universe, and I am a big fan of love. And I will say this about relationships is the one element of life that introduces us to the worst and the best part of ourselves and the worst of best and the best part of the other person as well. Only you get a chance to decide which is which. Are you gonna focus on um it don't make sense to be with somebody who only brings out the worst in you, then that person is not good for you. So in a case like that where you're in a relationship and all that happens is this person is kind is stomping on you, cheated on you, treating you like crap, in a situation like that, then I don't see how that person is contributing to you being the best version of yourself or you being the highest version of yourself. In a situation like that, what I believe happens is this: you may not want to do anything about it, but guess what? The universe will do something about it for you. You will end up in a situation where you're so hurt, you wouldn't have a choice but to walk away. It might not even be you walking away, it might be the other person walking away. When somebody walk away from you, you don't go running behind them because at the end of the day, God only wants that which is for our highest good. I believe that with all my heart and soul. When it's done and over, I really believe this is another opportunity to sit with yourself, figure out what it is that makes you happy. What do you want for yourself? And I think I need to say this to my females out there because in the most part, a lot of females, I don't think they are the ones who are responsible for the relationship that they're in. Let me try to say this in a lot of females, they're so in love with the idea of being in love and being married and being in a relationship and having a family and stuff. That the first guy who comes along and tell them all the nice things, they hop and they go on with that person. Only to fast forward, whether it's a year later or however long later, that you didn't even like the person anyways. So for me, I would always say, if I have to share my bit of wisdom, is date a couple of people. Try to figure out what it is you really like. What do you want for yourself? What makes you happy? How is this person dreams lining up with my dreams? How are we? Don't just fit into somebody else's picture. Yes, we're two individuals, and we both have our individual assignments, but it is possible to kind of connect with someone who y'all are on the same trajectory path. So let me see. A simple way to put it is this: if your dreams and goal, one of your dreams and goals, or your passion is to travel and experience the world, then don't go with a partner who don't even want to leave the house. Then you will end up doing everything by yourself. And the whole idea of having a partner is to have someone that you could totally enjoy all aspects of life with. I was talking to my landlord recently, and the one thing that he said to me that made me realize that, hey, we really have to be very selective with the partner or the person who we're going to link up with. And for most people, it's about having a husband or having a wife. And the real deal is having a life partner, because to me, there's a difference between somebody who's a husband or a wife and someone who's going to be a life partner. Hey, Jody, thank you for popping by. Thank you guys on Instagram. Anybody out there on Facebook, y'all quiet on me. So yes, so this is what he said to me. Him and his wife, they met when they were at high school, where they were going to school. And he said from a very young age, I think as a teenager, they knew that they were going to get married. And to fast forward the story is, um, he said he knows that he was the one who had to work hard, right? But at the end of the day, the type of partner that she was to him, it motivated him to become the best version of himself. So he felt as though he had a life partner. They traveled the world together. They did so many things together. They went to all these places and meet all these amazing people. And he said they just had a wonderful life. Now she's no longer with us. But at the end of the day, because he made the right choice, or she made the right choice, it worked out so well. And like I said, I think I've shared it some time ago. I met a couple on a flight once, and she was telling me that they were married for 60 years. I'm like, 60 years? Because at that point I was wondering, can I even stomach to be with somebody for that long? Imagine 60 years or like half your life. And I asked her, what is the key to staying married to somebody for so long? And she said, you know what? We genuinely like each other. We genuinely enjoy each other time. We genuinely enjoy doing things together. And I was like, wow. So that's the key, because nobody is perfect at the end of the day. But I think there is a perfect for you somewhere out there. There's a perfect for me. You know what I'm saying? So the whole point is I had to learn who I am on my own. I had to do what I needed to do to be the best version of myself. I had to decide to say, you know what? Whatever I want for myself, I have to be willing to give to others. So it meant that I have to put in the work. I have to challenge myself to be honest, because a lot of times you feel that because the other person is not there and they can't see, they don't know. But guess what? I know, and God know. So how can you actually expect you want a partner who's honest and faithful, and on the down low, you're not? And this is one thing that I heard a lot of spiritual teachers say, and I kind of fought it for a while, because, like, how the hell? They say you attract who you are or what you are. And I'm thinking, how is that even possible? But it kind of makes sense. So the energy that you're vibrating on, there's a high probability that because of the energy that you're vibrating on, you will attract that same kind of energy. So if you are a negative person, if you're dishonest, if you're not true to yourself, then the people you will attract in your life will be exactly that. Until you heal those parts of yourself, I don't believe that it is possible to get to that stage where, you could enjoy having somebody who is very similar to you. Nobody's going to be exactly like you, but at least you have something that is the most important thing to yourself. So you have to learn how to live your life in such a way that you set clear boundaries. You have to have this whole unapologetic, radical vibe about you, that when the stuff that doesn't sit well with you, when it shows up, you will be able to say, well, you know what, this is not working for me. And another thing in this area, when it comes to getting excited about when one relationship finish, we have this thing that says when one door is closed, a better one is open. That is probably true. But how is a better door going to open if you're not doing your part to make sure that you're not making the same decisions? Make sense? Because a lot of times you end up with the same person in a different body because you did not take the time to figure out what is it about me that keep attracting men who lie, who are deceitful, who are gamers, and all these kinds of things. So you have to be willing to look at yourself. What is it about me that is attracting this? How can I do it differently? And I always believe, for me, from my personal experience, because of course, I have my fair share of that kind of shit. I put myself out there and I dated a lot of people, and I took the time to understand myself, understand temperament, understand that all men are not the same. One, everybody love differently. That is true. So don't go into a relationship thinking because the one before was a particular way, he was attentive, he called you every morning, that shit is fake. It only happens for the first, when everything is fresh and the person wants to impress you, and you get all carried away with that. Guess what? In the beginning of a connection, that's when I'm the least impressed, because I know, I'm aware of it. I have to be honest with myself. This is how it is. I want to see who the real you is. Let me see what your natural vibration is. Don't just go into it head over heels thinking that, well, this is gonna be this way for the entire relationship. It doesn't work like that. Things change. So give yourself the opportunity to figure out who you are, figure out the whole, if you see a particular pattern showing up, take a break. Give yourself a break, figure it out, figure you out. So when you see the things showing up, then like I tell you, this is my area. I love this topic on relationships. And then here's another thing that happens. A lot of women, but I don't know about men, but I can only talk about myself. A lot of women are intimidated by real conversations. They don't want to be the ones to initiate real conversations. Like, for example, because this is actually a true story. I met this guy, and when he had the opportunity to talk to me, um, of course, the first question is, "Oh, are you in a relationship?" No, I'm not. I'm single. I'm married. Are you in a relationship? No, not really. I kind of sort of in a relationship. It's like, how the hell are you kind of sort of in a relationship? How many of you would be actually bold enough to even question that? Because somebody who come to you and say, I kind of started in a relationship, that person ain't supposed to even see what your door look like. Because right away, that's a huge red flag that you're probably running into a player. So ladies, if you don't spend time with you and don't spend time with getting to know who you are at your core, and have yourself so grounded in you that, you know, you're not afraid to challenge anybody who will come around you with BS, then you'll always find yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, and you will be the one who is heartbroken and distressed in the end. So I think that is number 5. Right. Number 5, resist the urge to do the why me. You know, when you have a bad situation popping up in your face, the first thing you're like, oh, why me? Da 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 da, whatever the case is, and you have this pity party. And I would say go ahead and have the pity party, but no, don't let it last for too long, because that's a normal thing when you're going through a situation that don't work out how you expect it to work out. You get a little bit discouraged, so that is okay. So my thing is to let you understand that get excited about connecting with your next best thing, because um, at, the- at the other side of every situation, there's always a blessing in disguise. In every situation that don't work out, there is a reason. In the moment, you may not see it, but I could guarantee you that everything is always working out for your highest good. And I'm going to move along now to number 6. And number 6, I said, dig in. I know that the next statement is like change is inevitable. Whether we like it or not, change is going to always happen, because we are meant to evolve. We are not meant to stay one way all the time, be in one situation all the time. You're not a tree, and even the tree changes. Because, like I tell you, the tree on outside my house just keeps getting bigger and bigger, taller and taller, and it's supposed to be a miniature tree. So don't get discouraged when changes start to happen, because I know that I have friends I have this one particular friend actually. I think she takes pride in saying, "Oh, I'm a creature of habit," right? So anything that challenges her comfort zone is like she's spinning in top. So always have that space open to embrace change, because a lot of times when change happening, it is happening for our good. Like for example, when I applied for the position as a flight attendant and it didn't work out for me to be a flight attendant, I didn't see the change fast forward to 15 or 20 years later. I couldn't see that far. I couldn't see exactly where God was leading me. But at the end of the day, it has been working out in my favor, you know. So understand that change is for a reason. Change is good. Sometimes it happens without our consent. Sometimes it happens in disruptive ways, like we are going through this global pandemic right now. And we don't have no control over a lot of things that are happening. But at the end of the day, life life will not support you if you choose to be intentionally stuck in one place all the time. If God is like Jonah and the whale, God gave him the instruction to be in a particular place or go to a particular place, and he refused to go. And according to what they say, I don't know how true it is, because guess what? In my natural intellect, it sounds like a fairy tale. But he arranged for a whale to swallow Jonah, and Jonah show up exactly where God wants him to be. So I believe that a lot of times when life is disruptive, it is because we are stuck in our comfort zone, and that is the universe way of shaking you the hell up for you to see beyond what it is. Hey, Alan York, how are you? I hope all is well. It's nice to see. I didn't even know you was on Instagram. Wow. Hi, Janika. Hi, Rennie. Hi, Facebook. Everybody is out there. How are you guys doing so far? I want to give you this one point in this number 6. Um, yes, is to just be aware of this one thing. Shifts and pivots are a normal way of life, and as disruptive as it may seem. So you have to remember that there's always a bigger picture involved, bigger than you. So when things happen that don't feel comfortable or it don't feel right, don't get discouraged. Just take a breath, take a step back, and ask for the guidance and the direction as to what you're supposed to be doing in that moment. So I just have a few more points to touch on. Um, this is number 7, and number 7 says, failed situations are meant to help us to level up. Does that make sense to you? When a situation don't work out, it's not because you're being punished. It's not because God don't like you. It's not because you was living in sin. It's not because of any of that foolishness. All God is, or the universe, or whoever it is you believe in, is really concerned about is that you will get to the level of where you are created to be. It's like, um, let me see what is the perfect example. A sports car, for example, was not created to run taxi run. Does that make sense? So you're damaging the car if you put it in a scenario where you're just running short drops to drop off passengers. When it was built with the power and the all the I don't know the technical terms of the cars, but that's the one thing that quickly came to mind. So if you were created, okay, like a racehorse, for example, then I think maybe we could all relate to the racehorse. It's like a racehorse was not meant to be a domestic animal. You will be treating that animal, give is like a misjustice or injustice to that horse, put it in a situation where it's operating as a domestic horse rather on a track field. So for us to actually fulfill and reach our highest potential, sometimes God have to shake us up. He has to disrupt our lives, and that can look differently for different people. It all depends on what you are, because everybody is operating on a different level, and we are not all meant to be the same thing at the same time. So I have a couple of questions here. Oh, this is something that I actually did recently. Have you ever stopped or had a moment where you took an inventory of your life, like you scan your life, whichever age you are? For me, I don't consider, well, I mean, from my personal thing, I think age 1 to maybe 15, because that's the time you're going to school and you're trying to figure out who you are. Um, you're trying to get adjusted to school life and all that kinds of stuff. But let's say from maybe age 15 or 16 to maybe 25, that for myself, I put that as one category. Like age 16, 17 to like about, I think when I did it, 27. I consider that to be like a first phase. And I took inventory for that, in that phase. And that was a phase when I had my most challenge. My most challenges happened in that phase. I was trying to figure out who I am as an adult. What do I like? What makes me happy? I had a lot of heartbreaks. I learned a lot about relationships. I learned a lot about what people are capable of when their intentions to get what they want. They don't necessarily care how they hurt you or what they have to do. The bottom line is they got to get what they want to get. I've actually had a guy walk up to me one time and say, "You, I got to get you." And I know it was for me to make sure that I stay the hell away from him, right? So for that first couple of years, I went through all this whole roller coaster of trying to figure out who I was, what I wanted, how I'm going to do it, whatever, right? And then let's say from age 27 to 40, that was another interesting phase. That was a phase when I think I kind of came into my being a little bit more. I was very much more grounded in who I am and what I'm about. I think on that stage, my focus was on making sure that my son had a good education. I was enjoying my life. I was doing what I love, traveling. I think by then I already had about maybe 12 or 15 countries down that I've been to, some of them multiple times. So my dream of traveling the world was already being fulfilled by the time I get to 40. As a matter of fact, when I turned 40, I was I was 4 months already in Turks and Caicos. So I spent 4 months on this island, Providenciales. I have two crazy girls that I went to school with. Why don't come down here, blah, 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 whatever. But that was an interesting experience. but I had a really wonderful time. And then when I looked again, so like from 40, I think at age 40, I came back to Trinidad. At age 40 to where I'm at now, 52. And by the time I get to the end of that era, because the last 11 or 12 years, I think my high point was just developing my skill set as a makeup artist and fine tuning the lessons that I learned in my 20s and in my 30s about relationships and about people. And I think I was coming into um, more about myself and who I am and what I want to be, what my legacy is, what I want, how I want people to remember me, and all these kinds of things. So at the end of that reflection, when I finished journaling, my conclusion is, oh my gosh, wow. I felt like I just finally completed my second bachelor's degree, and I'm now at the phase where I'm going to start my PhD. So whatever that looks like, if you stick around, you'll be able to share in that journey with me. You will also be able to benefit from some of the experiences that I've had and some of the wisdom that I've acquired along the way. And I will be happy to pass it along to you. I'm not an expert at anything, but like I said, I have done the work, and I know that there's a high possibility that if you are open to guidance, you will be able to get something along the line. Because to me, if it is like, for example, um, if you never bake a cake before, you will go to and you want to bake a cake. The first thing you're gonna do is go look at a recipe, right? And you're gonna follow the instructions, right? It's the same thing with life. So if somebody went through something that you are on the verge of going through, you have a conversation with somebody who's been through it, know what it's like, whatever, and might be able to give you some guidance. It's not that you wouldn't be able to have the experience, but you would not have it in a way that it will disrupt your life and set you back. So I don't know if that makes sense. So moving right along to number 9. This one is real. This one will totally mess you up because it kind of did. Number 9. I believe some life principles must be accepted. How many times you had this thought that, oh, because I'm a Christian and because I'm a child of God, this is supposed to happen and that is supposed to happen. Well, let me tell you this: life is not ideal. It was never meant to be, not even if you're rich. I have heard this conversation I was listening to a coach called Randy Gage. This is what he said: suffering and lack is a part of life, and in some cases, it is absolutely necessary. And I literally went, oh shit, are you kidding me? Let me say that again. Suffering and lack is a normal part of life, and in some cases, it is very necessary. That I had my aha moment, because Lord knows I've been questioning and searching, because you always have to think, why does bad things happen to good people? What did I do to deserve this? Why is this happening? Why it is not happening like so? And you go through all these whole things. And if you are around people who are Christians, the first thing they will make you feel is that you're living in sin. So if you're living in sin, you're supposed to you will definitely attract these kinds of things because your life is not right and all that shit. But guess what? That's how life is. Whatever is necessary for you to learn your lesson, that is what is gonna come up. All right. What I believe is the whole premise behind it is for you, or I should say for us, to try to dig in and figure out who we are, what it is that we want. I believe it's also a way to test our integrity because depending on your purpose in life and where you're going, like for example, if you're supposed to be the head of a multi-million dollar company and you have issues with being with honesty, God is never going to place you in that position, because guess what? You're going to be tempted to steal people's money and you might end up in jail. That is what I think. I think this whole thing is all about. So you have to always be in um, that mindset of being the best version of yourself, even when nobody is looking, kind of thing. So it doesn't matter if you're a good person, because I've seen it. It doesn't matter if you're a good person, you could be feeding the poor all the time. If you're in that cycle of whatever it's supposed to be happening, happens and you're there, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and something bad happens, it just is what it is. Your car gonna get scratched because you're not paying attention, because I had that experience. As careful as I am, I've never had an accident. I'm reversing. I'm hearing these sensors going out, tick, 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 tick. But I'm looking and I'm not seeing anything behind. All I'm seeing is leaves, and I know the sensor is so sensitive. It could be the leaf. And the next thing I knew, I hear because there was an extension on the wall that I couldn't see from where I was. The wall was flat all the time, and then it came out like maybe like a little inch or two. So when I was gauging from the part that was out, sorry, I couldn't see that little piece, and I scratched the car. So what do? When that happened, it's not the end of the world. It's just a freaking scratch. It's gonna cost me a couple $1,000s. I will bless somebody else, but at the end of the day, life goes on. But a lot of people will take that and they will whine about it and they will cry about it and they're thinking about all kind of negative energy and this and that and that. It ain't got nothing to do with that. It's just one of them things. I needed to be a blessing to the person who straightened or the painter or whoever. You don't know if he went to God that morning and said, God, you know what? I have a need. I have no food for my children, and I really want to just bless me with whatever. I scratched my car. Somebody introduced me to him. I was his blessing. So I believe that's how it works. So don't complain. So the scratch car, the flat tire, you miss a flight, you get stuck in traffic, you experience health challenges. All these things are a part of life, and it's a part of life's natural flow. And I believe when it happens, it's a catalyst for us to, like for example, somebody who has health challenges. When that happens, if they recover from it, what will happen there, or what should happen, is they of themselves have the opportunity to appreciate their health, and they will make better choices. The people who are closest to them will also make better choices, because your health is your wealth. And I'm sure you would have heard of situations where somebody missed a flight and that flight went up in smoke. So understand that life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. And my last point is, this one is kind of like a biggie. It's one of my favorites. I said, being positive does not mean that life would not happen to you. I think I am the most optimistic person on this planet. And I still have days when I feel like, shucks, what did I do to attract this, or whatever the case is. And when I stop thinking like that and realize that sometimes shit will just happen. And it's all about your perspective, and how you choose to interpret it will depend on how you come out on the other side of it. So it is okay. But I can tell you one thing. Back in the day when I went through the whole, when somebody asks you, how you doing? The first thing, like, oh, I kind of hate, or, like you just look at your outside circumstances and you start to give them the story. I stopped doing that a long time ago. So my response is, oh, I'm awesome, I'm wonderful, or whatever. And I vibrate on that energy. Even if everything, because at the end of the day, I could probably not have money or not have my transportation or not have my family, not having my son close to me, but all of that is outside stuff. What really matters is how I feel on the inside.